Hey, how you doing? This is your boy BrogiNaric back again with another episode of TV Aftermath. This episode, I'm going to give it my spoiler review of g.l.o.w Season 3. Now, if you don't want spoilers, I have my non-spoiler review on my Instagram, IGTV. Link is in the bio, or it's on the main page. You can just click Instagram. But there will be full spoilers for this, so heads up. But before we get into it, I'm going to give you my grade of Season 3 of g.l.o.w. If I were to have to grade this season, I would give this season a B plus, an 8.5 or an 8.5 out of 10, but definitely a B plus. Because the others I've given A's because it's been so good. This was, like I said, just a little step back, so I would give it a B plus, an 8.5 out of 10, but not a terrible season by any means. Alright, so yeah, that's my grade. As I said, not a bad season. Just a little bit of a step below the first two seasons, but not a terrible season at all. I know some people probably might be mad at it, but like I said, I love these characters enough. I was willing to go on this ride with them, and the way they left this season on that little I don't know, I guess a bit of a cliffhanger, but the way they ended this season, it made me look forward for season 4. So I'm gonna talk about some of the main character stuff, but I'm gonna go from like some of the minor stuff and then get into the major stuff. So of course, but when the show started, the whole them doing what was it? It was Zoya and Liberty Bell doing a promo for the show in Vegas on the local news, and they were doing like a reaction to the Challenger disaster. I didn't see that coming, but once I heard Challenger, I was like, oh, this is not going to end pretty. So that's how this season starts off, with the Challenger explosion happening, and then them having to work around that, at least for the first episode. That was kind of fucked up, but sort of funny how they had to work around that. As I said, there's a less focus on wrestling this season and more of a focus on identity and acting. Specifically, you know, the characters trying to figure out who they want to be, how they want to be looked upon by others, which was an interesting take. One thing, a lot of banging going on, a lot of partying in Vegas. You know, Debbie's with all the valets and the bellhops. And the funny thing with Melanie, the party girl, banging the guy who she thought she was a prostitute, but turns out he was a prostitute, and their little weird relationship they have going on for like the next 9 months that they're in Vegas. That was funny. So there's the relationship issues with Junk Shane and Beirut, which I like that they continued that, because that kind of sparked up towards the end of the last season, and it kind of ended as badly as I thought it was going to be, with whole Junk Shane being so pro, you know, like, you shouldn't be afraid of being lesbian, but you also need to know how to maneuver your way in public, and Beirut being unsure. She's like, the lack of intimacy between them and her kind of being unsure if she's gay or not, and she wants to accept that or not. It was kind of odd, but it made sense, because how sheltered her character is, and then her trying to, and then once, you know, the thing later on with the party getting attacked, and that's when she's like, yes, I'm gay all the way. So I like that stuff between those two. Then of course you got Tomei, aka Welfare Cream, played by Kia Stevens, aka Awesome Kong. She's great on this show, and she her main thing was working with pain, because her back is killing her, but she's still going out there doing the bumps night after night, trying to take painkillers. It's not working, and she doesn't want to go to the doctors. So of course they come to the conclusion that she could be a manager, which if they keep that for the next season, she's going to be like a female Don King. I can't wait to see how great that's going to be, because she's funny when she plays the biddy in the Freaky Tuesday episode. Was hilarious, and I love her. Also, we get really good stuff between Cherry Bang and Keith, which I love this couple, and I love how they kept them a strong couple. It hasn't been a lot of fuckery, because sometimes in TV shows when they have black couples, they throw in a lot of fuckery, and there's a little bit of fuckery, but like, cause you know, her and Sam used to date or whatever, but that was back before they were together, and they had their own weird threesome thing going on. But other than that, they're a solid couple, and I love the conflict between them, where like Keith is like, look, I've been with you for a long time, and I've been waiting for you to, you know, get to a point in your life where we can settle down, or at least talk about having kids, because, you know, they've had miscarriages before and all that. And she's like, I don't want to have a kid because I don't want that to fuck with my body. And he snaps, and he's gone for most of the season until like the end when he comes back as Santa. and they talk about, well, maybe we can adopt, which I love that they came to a resolution with that, because I was afraid they were going to break up. No, they don't break them up. There's no good couples on this show but them, so could they just stay a couple, please? And besides Junk Shane and Beirut, although they kind of broken up-ish, I guess. I don't know. And also, Cherry, when he was gone, she gets $5,000 in debt, which when you think about it, it's not that bad, but I guess back in the 80s, especially being a woman and being a black woman, it's hard to make up that much money. And you got Vegas on your ass. Yeah, you got to figure out a way to make up that money. So her doing the mud wrestling, that was a fun scene with her and Carmen doing the mud wrestling. I enjoyed that. So another big conflict that happened was the relationship or the friendship between between Jenny and Melanie, where they've been besties, but they've also been kind of sniping at each other. And in the episode 5, when they swap characters, Melanie plays Fortune Cookie, who is played by Jenny, who's Asian, and it's already a racist stereotype. And then Melanie plays the character and does it even more racist. And it was pretty offensive. It was funny, but it was still offensive, especially with her being white, playing an Asian person, and then doing all this racist shit. Which Jenny is like, yeah, she's pissed off about that. And so they go in the desert, and then Melanie's trying to make it up, and she's talking about her tragic backstory, which that was a very good scene where she's talking about how, like, her family, a number of her family died in the Holocaust, and her dad is still paranoid about it. And then Jenny talks about how, well, like, pretty much all of her family is dead, except for, like, I think her dad and her uncle, which I could have sworn in other seasons she's talked about her mom and her aunt and all this type of stuff. But then when you find out that, like, yeah, that was back when she was a kid, and all of them are dead because she's from Cambodia, and what was it, the event called the Killing Fields? I'm not familiar with it, but it was these big genocides that happened in Cambodia, and like majority of her family is dead, and her dad and her uncle were the only ones who escaped. That was super tragic, and it made me feel I felt more sympathy towards Jenny, because she would always talk about how fucked up the Asian character was, and then also now she's in this hotel that's got an Asian theme, but it's like white people dressed up as geishas and all this weird stuff. It was crazy. So yeah, that was a very touching scene, and then that also leads into stuff with Sheila, where she wants to be Sheila, Ruth, and Debbie and Welfare Queen, they all want to still kind of act in a way, and Sheila really wants to act, and she's really good at it. Problem is, she's stuck dressed up as the She-Wolf character, and the guy tells her, like, that's going to get in the way if you actually want to be serious about this. And, of course, she's in the woods, still in her She-Wolf outfit. She's not drinking water, in the desert, I mean, and she ends up passing out, and then she comes to the realization, like, you know what, I don't need to keep doing this because this shit is getting in my way, so she burns the She-Wolf costume. And that was great, and she gets close with the character Bobby Barnes. He's a new character this season. Bobby Barnes is he runs a drag queen show at the Vegas club, and he starts to get close with Sheila because she starts to talk to him about her identity and being who you really want to be, but you look a different way, so you have to dress yourself up. It was interesting stuff between those two, and I like their bond. And Bobby's a good character. I liked him, and I like his interactions with the girls, especially that scene where they go to his show and Ruth is there with her boyfriend. Funny stuff. And the big thing with him, he ends up later on he throws this big drag show fundraiser, but it's secretly a fundraiser to help with the AIDS relief stuff, because this is like 86 or 87? I can't remember. But the AIDS epidemic is getting worse and worse, which they touched on towards the end of season 2. And so he's running this secret drag show to raise funds, and of course at some point they get burnt out of it, or the place gets like set on fire, so they have to run out of there, and there's anti-gay graffiti on the walls and everything. So that was kind of one of the main focuses this season, was the AIDS epidemic. Not too much, but it was the AIDS epidemic, but a lot more of the gay sexuality or lesbian sexuality, I would say. Which, speaking of which, leads into Bash and Rhonda, because if you know from the last season, Bash is actually gay, and he's trying to keep that a secret, and he doesn't want to accept it or he's afraid to accept it, and that's why he got into this green card marriage with Rhonda. He keeps the sham marriage going, and then also he becomes more of a douchebag because he's getting all this. He's got this money and he's spending it in terrible ways, hiring magicians and shit like that. But then there's a moment where he gets his full inheritance because his mom sees that she talks to Rhonda and sees that Rhonda actually cares for him. Although Rhonda's not necessarily in love with him, but she can get there as she's starting to learn more about him. And so she's trying to help him with his finances. So he gets like what, 400 million, I think, his full inheritance. So he's got a shit ton of money to kind of just fuck off now. And then there's that crazy scene where Rhonda, because she doesn't know he's gay at the time, and she's trying to get him jealous, and she tries to. She gets the gigolo that Melanie is dating to set up a scene where they make Bash jealous, but instead of Bash getting jealous, it leads to a threesome. And in that threesome, Bash not only is making out with Rhonda, but he starts making out with the dude too, and it leads to a weird situation, which they didn't really. There wasn't a moment where Rhonda like sat down with him and was like, "What the fuck was that?" She's weirded out, but he just kind of comes to her like, "Look, it is what it is, but I want to have a baby with you." So I don't know. I think Rhonda's gonna. I wouldn't blame Rhonda if she actually had a baby with him. This man's got $40 million. I don't blame. I would have a kid, at least have that kid connected to that family. So if she has a kid with him, it is what it is. Now that leads us into the three main characters. Debbie Egan, she's dealing with bulimia. She's stressed. She's dealing with if she's a good mom or not. And eventually, when they stay in Vegas for 9 months, she brings in her baby with her. And then that leads her into a relationship with the guy, what was his name, JJ, or she calls him Tex, who was a guy she would meet on her plane when she would fly from Vegas to LA. And they start a relationship, which I was surprised at how long they actually got into a serious relationship for like 6 months. And he's a millionaire. He owns ranches, but he works in the radio business, and he's trying to buy this TV station. And him and Debbie get along very well. Very lovable couple. He's an older guy too. She's like in her mid-30s or late 30s, and he's probably like mid-60s or whatever, if not late 60s. Yeah, like late 60s. And he values her, but then he also doesn't value her. Like he knows she's a good person, but he's mainly using her for her looks to help him out in his business meetings. Once Debbie realizes that, because she was looking to be, a power couple, but then when she realizes like, oh, there's a limit to her power within this relationship, she's like, oh, okay, and she backstabs him, and because he's kind of fucking up the deal, because Debbie knows like if you would do this, the deal would work, but he's like, well, I don't need you for all that, sweetheart. Just look nice. So she's like, okay. She talks to Bash, and then when she realizes Bash has all this money, she's like, well, hey, we can go behind his back and get this TV deal. I can be a producer, well, not producer, I can be the president of the TV station, and we can get the fuck out of Vegas, go back to LA and make the show in LA. So that's what they do, and it works out, and that's going to lead to the next season where they're going to have a new show. She's going to be president of the TV station. They're going to have to make new wrestling gimmicks because legal reasons, because of the TV show from the first season. They don't own those characters. So I'm looking forward to that. And then also we get into Ruth and Sam, which I have to say, Ruth is an odd character. She's very frustrating this season. She's a bit annoying, and that's one of the, like, Ruth is always annoying, but Alison Brie is so kind and so nice. You tend to forget that she's a terrible person, like, especially, like, even though Debbie's a bitch, you forget that Ruth slept with her husband and helped ruin her marriage. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, Ruth is a terrible person as well, but she's so nice, but she's done some fucked up things. So she's still in her she's in a love triangle, because Sam basically tells her she needs to stop bullshitting and like make up a decision. Either we go be together because we clearly like each other, and I can tell you like me, or you're gonna stick with the camera guy in LA. And she kind of breaks it up with him a little bit, because he's gonna be going, I think, to Spain or some shit, and she's still in Vegas. But eventually Sam leaves, not just because of Ruth, but because Bash being an asshole, and like, I really don't need you. So Sam's like, well, fuck it, I'm going back to LA. and he gets closer with his daughter Justine, who's in town. She's written this great movie script, so he's using his connections to help her get the movie made. And I love their interactions. Like I said, there's not much Sal in this season, but when he's there, he's really good. And there's a moment where he has a heart attack, and I didn't like that he didn't want to tell Justine about it, and they kind of brush over that, so he might die in the next season. I don't know. But he's helping Justine with her movie, and they give Ruth an audition. Ruth is still in Vegas. She's in a rut. She's trying to keep the show together. But when she gets this offer for Justine's movie, she jumps at it because she very much wants to be an actress, but she's not as good as she thinks she is. She's not terrible, but she's not as good as she thinks she is. Like even Sheila, she even admits that Sheila is a far better actress than she is, which plays out at the scene where she's at the drag show and she does her little acting monologue, which was very nice. And also when she dresses up like Liza Minnelli in the when they switch gimmicks, that was great too. So Ruth goes, she does the audition, she doesn't get it, but like she doesn't know this, but like Sal, she admits to Sal that yeah, I want to be with you, and Sal's like cool. But then Sal's like, well, I got to tell you, you didn't get the part. And then that just fucks everything. Because then now Ruth is like, well, I didn't get the part. Well, she just doesn't know how to react now. And she doesn't want to be with Sal. Sal's like, look, I'm sorry you didn't get the part, but there's other things. Are we going to be together or not? And Ruth doesn't really make a decision. Or she decides not to. So Sal's just like, fuck it. And he leaves. And then the last episode, it's Christmas time, and that's when they do the big Christmas episode, which was a present to Carmen because they were doing gift exchange. And Carmen this whole season, she's been slow because she's the main trainer. Well, not the trainer. She's like secondary trainer, but she helps with all the wrestling moves. She's kind of bored by doing the same wrestling show over and over, and she really wants to get in that wrestling business. So she decides to leave with her brother Carlito because she's done with this show, which is a big blow because, like I said, she's the one who knows everything about wrestling, how a wrestling show should be, and she's pretty much the booker of the show. Her leaving is a huge blow, but you get this, they basically do a wrestling version of A Christmas Carol, and I love the match between Zoya and Carmen, where Carmen is basically deaf and the Undertaker. Good shit. Very fun show. So she leaves. Who else we did? The girls are gonna go away, split up for the holiday break, but Debbie can't tell everyone, but she tells Ruth, like, hey, me and Sam, I got bashed by a TV station. We're going to be doing a new season on TV, and I want you, Ruth, to be the director since you were essentially Sal's assistant, and we can work together. I'll be running the as the station president, and you can direct the show. We can work together because this acting shit ain't really working out for you, but we're still a team, and I can help you out. And Ruth sort of stubbornly, I kind of get I get the reasoning that she wants to follow her dreams, but like Debbie said, like if at this point this acting shit ain't really working out for you, so here's a constellation to a degree, and Ruth doesn't want to give up on her dream, so she decides, nah, I'm done. I'm gonna go back to Nebraska and I'm gonna figure out a way to keep acting, and that's how the scene ends. And I was kind of mad at Ruth. I'm like, what are you doing? This is just shot. You done fucked up the thing with Sal. You done fucked up the thing with the camera guy. And now this is a huge opportunity. And you're kind of being stubborn. But I get wanting to live your dream. But I think she should kind of morph it just a little bit. Because she can still act. But she can do bigger things with her directing. But, that's what makes these characters them. And like I said, solid season. That is a little bit slower than the other seasons. Not as... well, no, it's still kind of wacky and zany, but this is a slight step down. Not terrible, because like I said, the characters are so strong and so good. Kept me entertained. But yeah, that's pretty much the rundown of the spoilers. There's probably some other things I didn't really get into, but it is what it is. Go check it out on Netflix. It's 10 episodes, 30 minutes each. It's easy to watch. Fun time. Go rewatch the first 2 seasons. Solid stuff. Hopefully we'll get a season 4. But yeah, those are my thoughts for g.l.o.w season 3. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments. Let me know how you thought about this season. Check out other reviews and other videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos and reviews. Peace.
Finish this thought. I am a slave to...
the booty.